Well, Breaking Free did start in October of 1996, and prior to that I worked for another agency called Whisper, and Whisper was Women Hurt in Systems of Prostitution Engaged in Revolt. And at that particular agency I got hired on to be a women's program director. And I was there for about 5 years, and it had been going on about 5 years prior to me coming on. And they ended up having to close their doors is what happened. And because I was a program director and was able to create the programming for the women and worked directly with the women, I could see how that the impact that really did have on the women and how hurt they were by it. And I just wanted it to continue because at this particular time, back in the early 90s, there really were only probably about 3 programs in the country doing this work. And I just couldn't see it end, so I made it up in my mind that that's something that I wanted to continue to do. And basically Breaking Free got off the ground the same month that the other agency closed down. Breaking Free started at the end of that month, so it was meant to be. That's what that told me. It was meant to happen. I mean, this is a service that's desperately needed, not just here in Minnesota, but all over the country and the world, really. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry throughout the world. And there are millions of women and children involved in this lifestyle that oftentimes are forgotten. So.
And when you say about free choice, most people think that it's the woman's free choice.
Yes.
And even the woman thinks that going in sometimes. Mm-hmm. What's actually going on there?
Well, you know, free choice is something that a lot of people don't even like to dabble with when they talk about prostitution. And I always say it's not a free choice, because when a woman gets involved in it, I mean, she may make that decision on her own, but she doesn't realize free choice. When you talk about free choice, you know what's in that choice you make. You know that if you go to McDonald's and you ask for a hamburger with, bacon and pickles and what have you, it should be on there, and if it isn't, you can say, hey, this isn't what I asked for, this isn't what you told me I was getting, you can give it back. Well, in prostitution, women don't really realize that it's about abuse, it's about death, it's about pain, it's about losing your kids, it's about drug addiction, because these are just not things that are told openly about it. This is what happens to you. They don't realize that there's damage, lifelong damage, that comes along with that lifestyle. It's something that you just don't ever forget. Many women have PTSD. They wake up in the middle of the night, from nightmares and things that have happened. Maybe they have been out of that life for 20, 30 years. But there's things that happen in that life that you can never forget, that you can never take away. And these are some of the things that take that choice away, because you never know about any of this. It's until you get involved in it that you realize, hey, this is more than what I bargained for. This is more than what I ever thought would happen, So that's how I kind of look at it when I talk about choice. It's even like, in the stripping industry, which is a whole other area. But
and the average age is 12 to 14, you said, for entry?
Yeah, the average age of entry is between 12 and 14 years old.
And usually, do they get out of that by 18,
Kids.
Or is it just keeps going?
Well, the vicious thing about prostitution, when I say the average age of entry is between 12 and 14 years old, what normally happens when a child is worth a lot of money in this life. And the sad thing is that there's so many individuals who want little girls, and so a little girl usually has a pimp or trafficker that is controlling everything she does. So he's got enough sense not to put her out in public where everybody will see her and somebody will get wind, what is that little girl doing on the streets here? She's more than likely, if she's out in public, she's going to be rescued. But the hard thing about getting a child out of this lifestyle is usually they're underground. They're harder to find because pimps keep them on the down low. They have to, in order to make sure that they don't get captured. And do they get out easily? No. Many of the women that we work with have started as young girls and have never gotten out of the life because there was no rescue for them. And so you do age out of prostitution. If you started a little girl, 12 years old, chances are by the time you're about 25, you're getting a little burnt now. You've been in it long. You know, your looks start to change, your behavior definitely changes, your body, you know. And many women, almost 100% are chemically dependent. And what they say is they can't do the act of prostitution without being high. So by the time they're 25, I mean, they're doped out. And they're of no good really to anybody, and so the pimp doesn't even want them anymore. You know, they're just kind of tossed, you know. So it doesn't mean they get out of the life. It means they go deeper into the life. They're on the streets. They're whatever they can get to make a little bit of money, because that's all they've known, you know. So you don't get out of the life easily if you're a little girl, unless by some chance there is a rescue. So.
Can you explain the parallels between the sex slave industry and prostitution, how those are seen different in society and how they're actually the same thing?
Well, you know, we always say that prostitution and sex trafficking are two of the same. And what really happens is, usually when people hear the word trafficking, they think of foreign individuals, foreign women, foreign children. And when they hear prostitution, they think about domestic, people that are right here, right in our own backyard, right here in the United States. But what they're not thinking of is that prostitution and sex trafficking, they're two of the same thing. It's all about being bought and sold. Both of them are bought and sold. A prostituted woman is being bought and sold. A trafficked woman from China, India, or what have you, she also is being bought and sold. And what it boils down to is a sex act. It's all about the sex act. That's really what prostitution is about, nothing else. And that's what people never look at. They don't really think about that piece of it, but that is really what it is. And we have worked with women from China, women from all over the world, as well, of course, as domestic women right here. And when we have our women's groups every week to talk about the issue, the women from China are saying the same thing as the women right here from Minnesota are saying. You know, I hate this. This is what it does to me. This is what it's done to me. The women are both saying the same thing. See, it doesn't matter where that sex act takes place. The damage it does is still the same no matter where you're at, who you are. It's not about any of that. It's about a sex act. So.
What challenges do you face as the founder and director of Breaking Free?
There really are many challenges because, for one, working with this population of prostituted, sex-trafficked individuals, people have their own views, are different views about what they believe about this, and some really don't understand. You know, why are they trying to act like women are victims? You know, because they don't really understand the dynamics of it. And then you get a lot that are, I mean, people are coming around more now because people are beginning to understand how vicious a lifestyle this is for anybody to have to live, a woman or a child. One of the big challenges is to get the awareness out, I feel, and to help people to really understand the need for them to get on board and try to put an end to this. I think another challenge is what probably everybody is all over the country is saying, funding is always hard. But for us it's even harder. You know, it's easier to understand about, you know, domestic violence or even rape, sexual assault in that way than it is to talk about prostitution. And especially if you say prostitution is a form of rape, people then get real spaced out and like, what planet are you on? But that's how we look at it here. And so trying to get this message across and get money for it is really a huge, huge challenge.
Mm-hmm. And what are the rewards as the founder and director of Breaking Free?
The biggest reward, in my opinion, is seeing women get out of this life. You know, and really realizing, you know, that I am somebody. I do deserve to be loved. You know, I deserve to love myself. If nobody else does, I deserve to love myself. I can love myself. And just to see her, to break out, because that's not an easy thing, you know, to do. and to be able to get on with her life and to to get housing and to have her children restored to her and find a job and just feel good about being free of all of the craziness that's happened in her life for as long as she can remember, That to me that's why I do this. That is one of the big reasons why I do it, because everybody deserves that, to know that there's a reason for them to exist, and they just need help finding it, and so I think that's one of the biggest rewards.
How can other people show up in a bigger way for their communities to make a shift for goodness in the world in regards to this?
Yeah. Well, one thing is I think that other people can make a difference when they hear about human trafficking, or our specific area is sex trafficking. When they hear that something is happening, or when they hear about the atrocities that are done to women and children, that they should try to do something in some way. Whether that's make a phone call to a politician and say, look, we need to look at laws, or whether that's getting involved with agencies such as Breaking Free that's doing the work. And they say there's power in numbers, and there really is. And so whenever we do things, if we go up to the Capitol and are trying to make a statement that this has to be changed, that this isn't all right, we need people to back us up, because prostitution makes a statement about everybody. It's not just about the women and girls involved. Actually, it's about every woman that is living and breathing. It says just because you're not involved right now doesn't mean that you can't be. It's no respecter of persons, you know what I mean? And so it's really saying that all women can be bought and sold. And for those that are bought and sold, those that aren't need to jump in and understand. It's not just about her, it's about you too. So I think that, and men also, it's about supply and demand. Without that demand, there'd be no supply. And there are men who are against this. And they too need to put their foot down and get involved with whatever is going around, whatever they hear. And at least get a voice in and say, we have to make some change, in whatever way that we can. Do something about it in their own little way. So I guess in closing, one thing that I would say is, if you ever do see a woman or a little girl, even a little boy, that, they have their head held down, they're feeling bad, don't just assume things about them, because there's a saying that everybody knows, unless you walk in their shoes, you don't know what they've been through. And I just want to, that's become very strong to me, that saying, we don't know, we can always assume things because of what we hear about this lifestyle, in particular prostitution, sex trafficking. But unless we take the time to even think about what it must be like to walk in their shoes, we can't begin to imagine the evil and the hell that they live in. And so just give people a smile every now and then, you know what I mean? Say something kind and something positive, and give them hope. Give them some hope and just a reason for living when you see them. I think that's one of the best things we can do for people that we don't know, or people that we see and we see they're going through something. So I just want to leave with that note. Just think positive and be positive.
Thank you, Vednita, for all that you're doing. You're truly changing the world one person at a time. Infinite blessings to you. Thank you for watching these videos. This is Michelle at thedaretobeYou.com. You can subscribe to my channel for more inspiration, and also check out the website.